My name's Dwayne Fund. I'm with Hazmat Safety Consulting, and I'm here to provide an update of the 68th session of the UN Subcommittee of Experts on the Transport of Dangerous Goods. Just to give a little background, the UN Subcommittee of Experts has been around since the 1950s. It was established to do two primary things, and that is to raise the level of safety in the transport of dangerous goods, taking advantage of the experience and expertise and resources of developed countries that have well-developed industries transporting globally, and share that experience with perhaps those that are less experienced and less developed, and that provides then a minimum bar for safety. But it's also to facilitate transport. It's there to make sure that material can move globally, chemicals and other important dangerous goods can move globally through multiple modes of transport, multiple interchanges. Because of that, the subcommittee focuses on those aspects of dangerous goods safety that are relevant by all modes at the package level. So the main three primary functions that they address are classification. So globally, anything that's classified as an explosive is treated that way consistently around the globe. At the package level, obviously they're going to need dangerous goods packaged properly at the origin. There's no opportunity to repackage at borders or interchanges of modes, for example, from surface, truck to air. There's no mechanism to repackage things. So it has to be packaged properly at the beginning to reach its destination. And then hazard communication, how the material is identified through package markings, labelings, shipping papers is the same, no matter where you're at. That way, a transport worker handling material knows exactly what it is. An operator, an airline, or a rail, or a vessel operator, when they're accepting these packages, they know exactly what they are, how to handle them, how to stow them, how to secure them, as well as offloading and emergency response. Anywhere in the world knows that flammable liquids identified the same way, so they know how to respond to that. So from that perspective, the UN Subcommittee serves a vital function in ensuring that that baseline system is harmonized globally so that the products can move safely and they can move in trade, because its global system of trade can move unimpeded throughout the process. I mentioned it started basically in the 50s. So it's a very mature system. There's essentially 30 countries that participate in a voting status. It's under the United Nations. It's not a mandatory system. Voting can occur on proposals, but they try to minimize it. I served 10 years as a chairman, as a U.S. representative, and I can tell you that taking a majority vote is the last thing you want to do. The best decisions are made when everyone's interests are taken into account in the final conclusion, and those conclusions result in amendments to the UN model regulations. Those amendments are produced every 2 years, and the subcommittee then works on a 2-year cycle of 2 meetings a year, 4 meetings total. This is commonly referred, this 2-year cycle is referred to as a biennium. For this biennium, it's 2025, 2026. So in July of 2026 was the third meeting of the 4-meeting biennium. So the next meeting will be in December of this year, and that'll produce final amendments to the next edition of the model regulations, which is the 25th revised edition. Just one step further, those amendments that aren't considered for mandatory application in convention-based instruments of AIR, International Civil Aviation Organization, and Vessel, International Maritime Organization, Dangerous Goods Code. It takes 2 years for those to come into effect. The amendments that are approved in December of this year in the UN model regulations will become effective typically in January 2029. And then there's some transition periods by mode. And that's the same process that the regional European regulations take, and the US HMR, or hazardous material regulation changes. They try to follow the same cycle. So we just concluded the third session. Many of the work is trying to come to a conclusion so that something is in a state of being adopted in the next meeting, because that is the last meeting of this biennium. If it's not adopted here, then it does not get into those implementing regulations in 2029. It's pushed back again another 2 years. Some of the bigger ticket items that are coming out. The United States is progressing an initiative to better characterize Class 9 miscellaneous dangerous goods. The current Class 9 process is just a catch-all for materials that need to be regulated as dangerous goods but do not meet the criteria for classes 1 through 8. It turns out to be sort of a catch-all bucket for many different things. And the U.S. is saying, well, now it's developed as such that there's widely different hazard profiles within this hazard class, and it may be more appropriate to divide them up. So they're looking at a division for environmentally hazardous substances, a division for lithium batteries or other energy storage devices, division for low hazard or low risk energetic materials, and a division that has everything else, which includes a wide range of things like asbestos or genetically modified organisms or aviation regulated material, wide range of things that there's no real set criteria. It's more regulated on a case-by-case basis. This is unique and because it's addressing one of the baselines of the system, which is the classification system and then the hazard classes. That has not been done in probably 30 years. And so there's some desire to make sure it's done in a very mindful, thought-out way. So the United States is looking at doing this. We're trying to assess if there's value added. Some of it's based on already changes that are going to happen with lithium batteries, which I'll talk to in a minute. Much of it's based on the evolution of what's happening with articles that are incorporating small amounts of dangerous goods, particularly things like energetic materials or explosives, like airbag inflators that are such a small amount. When they're incorporated in the article, they don't function the same as an explosive in this case, but they still need to be regulated. And there's a way to bring criteria to manage that. So it's trying to set up, the United States is trying to set up a framework for future regulatory development. I think it would probably be progressed to completion in December. The other big topic, it's been a 10-year effort, is on lithium battery classification. Anyone that's in dangerous goods world knows that lithium batteries have been at the forefront of our concerns with the hazards in the system. And the current lithium battery regulations were developed very much based on prescriptive measures of what type of chemistry is used and the size of the battery. And much of that was developed to help facilitate the introduction of rechargeable lithium batteries in the 90s. And that framework's worked well to do that. Lithium batteries are within the system everywhere, and the applications continue to grow. And because of the volume of the shipments, so do incidents. And so this process of developing a hazard-based classification testing system for lithium batteries, both rechargeable ions and non-rechargeable lithium metal batteries, is a way to better characterize the hazards of any particular design. And that way it can be managed better by various modes, whether that requires different acceptance and stowage on aircraft or by vessel in particular. So that process is very mature. It's coming to a conclusion, and we would expect some proposals at the next session to bring in new testing that differentiates whether the battery propagates, whether it heats, whether it releases a significant amount of gas, particularly focused on the battery itself. And then probably look to batteries and equipment, move that into the next biennium and see how to address that, because that has such a huge impact in being able to support special interests like medical devices and military applications. One of the other issues the subcommittee's really been focused on is how to adapt the regulations from its current structure of mostly industrial type chemicals to dealing with the evolution of e-commerce and the movement of certain types of dangerous goods through e-commerce platforms to consumers, and how do consumers return those products in a responsible way if in fact there's something wrong with them or just within the return policies of the e-commerce platform. That's been complicated because it just can't exempt, although the system's set up for businesses that have trained individuals to be able to make sure they're compliant with the regs and doing proper safety measures and packaging and preparation and hazard communication. Consumers are never going to be able to do that. The consumer is never going to be able to have that level of understanding or knowledge. So if a responsible program is to be run, it has to take into account that you can't expect the consumer to do that. They'll either throw it away if it's too difficult, they'll ship it undeclared, meaning they'll just put it in a box and send it back if they get a monetary refund, or they'll just throw it in a desk drawer and it stays there. How do we do that best? And there's been a lot of efforts to try to address it. It's just too large of an effort. So subcommittee most recently considered taking it in small bites and say, well, if a responsible entity is going to establish a return program, can they do that? Can they supply all the necessary dangerous goods functions to a consumer? A consumer follows the directions, puts it in the box supplied to them, uses the label supplied to them, uses the carrier that's been identified as part of the return program, and then that consumer would not be considered a dangerous goods employee because we train them. And so the subcommittee has sort of tentatively agreed that we can carve out a measure to say that consumers aren't necessarily considered a dangerous good employee requiring in-depth training and training records if some of these other measures are taken care of by someone who is trained and qualified. We hope that that gets completed. It really helps with pursuing some of these very responsible return programs to either be able to reuse some of these critical element metals and things, particularly in batteries, or just get them out of the waste stream where they could cause significant hazards for waste handlers. So that is a big value. There are some minor tweaks to the system, as always. For example, a small battery packaging exception for lithium batteries under a certain size. And subcommittee addressed how to handle, they're called single cell batteries, how to bring some clarity on how to best handle those, and essentially raise the limit a little bit up for that exception, which we think is a good thing. It allows for different markings. For example, battery marking had to be red patch bordered, and it allows for black, and that helps facilitate or utilize modern printing methods on fiberboard rather than have to apply a label. And there's some testing measures with batteries as well. We think that significant progress has been made on some of these longer term initiatives. We're preparing now as a group to further them and get them more mature so that these amendments are able to be accepted the next session. And we really expect to have some significant regulatory change to occur that'll show up in the 25th revised edition of the model regulations and ultimately be adopted by convention-based international areas like for air and vessel in Europe and hopefully in the United States rulemaking process in January 1st, 2029.